on aging in community and senior centers of the future. So the people who created the Beacon Hill concept, I'm pretty familiar. It's just oh, this is great, thanks. Can I make a copy of it?
Sure, right.
But it is a cool concept and it has spread around the country. You know, back when I did that, there were only maybe 2 or 3 models.
Hey. Morning.
That co-presented with the City of New York was looking at new models of senior centers, and I presented to them the same day that she was there. And how could senior centers become the hub of the model?
John, do we have an agenda?
And that's your agenda right there.
Coffee here.
Was that last? Oh,
Maybe you could ask who else wants some.
you know what?
Agendas, everyone?
I need one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need a minute
go in.
too, if anybody got it, I don't have.
I just have them, I have electronically,
Oh, hold on, I have the
so.
Who needs minutes?
I got them electronically. I have.
I do too, but I always print it out. You have
Just don't, I save them in my files,
Yes.
but I don't ever print anything out. I remember, I used to have, just file cabinets full of stuff, now everything. I even scan in stuff and save it electronically, because it's easier for me to find it. I want to thank you for your efforts.
They kind of got me cranky.
Well, but again, hearing from citizens is the most important thing, so. That is the most important thing,
Hopefully they heard something.
right? I think the challenge too, and probably you guys are gonna have to clarify, is when they say affordable
John, is there
housing.
anybody when the downtown
Particularly
thing
if they're living on
was
the same
being
income that they retired on at 65. and then
I was in Mansfield, but I wasn't on the
Basically,
commission.
it's the
I
same
think
kind of
maybe
thing,
Will
just
was.
use it significantly less.
Yep.
So, it's tough because
I was laying awake last
we wanna
night
do certain things.
thinking of questions to be raised, and
At some point,
it occurred to me that it might be interesting to know what the proposed intent was for the residence units over there and what the proposed rental purchase prices were at that time.
Yep.
I don't know what difference it would make, but
Can everyone hear us okay at the center? Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear us all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I didn't.
Very
Nancy
well.
didn't give me a number.
Yep. Yep.
Then I guess we're set to go. I will call this meeting to order. Well, I guess we can wait for Martina to get back, because she has my agenda and I have no idea. So we don't-
And John, coffee is back at the center.
Yes,
so
I
you
didn't
know.
realize that.
Yeah, just
I
so you know, coffee is back.
I brought my own.
Yeah, because restrictions have changed, so coffee's back, and next month we'll be bringing back cafe,
Okay.
so.
Well,
Coffee is back.
The coffee is much appreciated.
It creates a totally different feeling here, that's all I can say. When people walk in the door and smell coffee, even if they don't drink coffee, you
Even
know.
though we're still spiking, as they say.
You know, again, yeah,
Yeah, I know, there's some things
There's
you
a-
need
it's a
regardless of what else is going on.
right. And if we continue to do it in the right way, that's what I would say. Like, for example, we have the little individual creamers that people can take versus the
Yeah.
big creamer that everybody touches and pours. So that's what we have cleaning stuff around as well. So it's being, managed, but it just makes a difference. It's just so nice to start hearing life back here in the center and people just coming in. I mean, it is.
Yeah, I think that's what it signifies as much as anything, that we're getting back to
Yeah,
the new normal, whatever that really is.
whatever that is. yeah.
I'm not sure we'll ever get back to what we used to be.
No,
Right,
and I mean,
but-
Sarah can speak to that too, even with, some of our, now we're doing hybrid drive-through plus serving meals, and people are still, drive-throughs are still pretty popular.
I have to say, this is a much more exclusive group than that Washington dinner that none of us were invited to.
Oh, my daughter's getting married, this summer, I'm just hoping that, the figures stay enough, because I'll probably got 180 people at the wedding, so.
Wow, that's a good size
Right,
crowd.
and they're banking on the fact that the numbers will stay lower. I mean, most people are vaccinated anyway, but still, it's not something you want to have happen linked to your wedding. People get
Well,
sick.
at least if you're fully vaccinated, you're avoiding a trip to the hospital in most cases.
Right.
So I guess it's worth it, so our,
A lot of people say no.
I'm sorry,
A lot of people say no. They don't want it.
I just hope they're not in my face.
I'm gonna say, here in Mansfield, we have pretty good
Oh,
numbers.
good, now we know what we're doing.
I would say.
Yeah, please.
Martina's now an expert on the coffee.
No,
Yes.
it's intimidating. You tell I'm retired.
Thank you.
Well, they're really computers now, they're not.
Just
That's what I was saying to her, yeah. And that's the kind of technology, in 10 years, it's totally different.
Yeah,
It's
You just talk
changed.
to it.
Yeah. Right. You don't even have to, it just reads your mind, and then it prints out what you.
Do you have an agenda?
I do, I have it electronically.
The agenda, I didn't even sit and see them online.
We've had a staffing turnover, just so you know. I think Jessica left, so and we have a new person, Leslie. So things we're bumping along with some staffing issues.
Okay, I think we're ready to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Thank you all. Acceptance of the minutes of the March 14th meeting. Are there any comments, corrections, omissions? Hearing none, I'll entertain the motion to accept the minutes.
Motion for acceptance.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor say, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I received no correspondence directed to the committee. So we can go right into our reports. Pat?
So I think you all know it's been all things budget lately. Well, first of all, Will pointed out we got our new wall.
You should post it, so you can see it.
So, which is great. It's sound barrier, barrier. We have been putting off replacing it, hoping that the other would last until there were some other decisions about buildings, but you can't get replacement parts and all of that. And so they decided bite the bullet and change. It is something that could be uninstalled and moved somewhere else too. They're fairly pricey. So, and they got a pretty good bid on it because they were bidding out one for the school at the same time. So we have our new wall. We're very happy with that, correct, Sarah? So we can
Absolutely.
divide
It
the room
moves
into
like
two
butter.
places. Yeah, yes. No worrying about how many people.
We are using it more than we ever did. I mean,
Yes.
We're using it 4 or 5 times a week easily to
Yeah.
split this room and be able to do a couple different things.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful.
So we're very pleased with that. I think you all saw the new van out there. Certainly people have had an opportunity to tour it. Unfortunately, some things were missing when it came, which the belts that allow us to appropriately secure wheelchairs are missing. So we're waiting for those replacement. But we still do have our old van, which has a wheelchair. So we're anxiously waiting for.
He's coming at 1 today.
Good.
He called me this morning. Dave and I will meet with him and get that all straightened out.
All right, and he's gonna do some training on that. Good. Good. Terrific. So those things are done. Our budget was presented last week. I don't know if anybody watched it. If you're interested in it, you certainly can go back. It's available online to watch. A couple things that are included in the budget that you should know is that Sharon's hours will go up from 25 to 30, which is good. We're hoping for her to go full-time, but 30 is good. Because our nutrition programs have been one of our highest demands. And I think, as you know, we're doing multiple nutrition programs right now. Not only are we doing the Meals on Wheels in the regular program, but we're doing cook meals. We're planning to open the cafe back up starting next month. And there's a bunch of different things that are required now with COVID protocol that were not required before. So things just take a little bit more work to do. We've also seen a decrease in people who come for the congregate meals. They're, I think, not pleased with the congregate meals and really want cooked, fresh meals. So we're really looking at that to increase those numbers and also offering those meals to go as well. So those are some new plans. There is some ARPA money designated to help us to do that over the next couple of years, so we can kind of prove the need and provide now. Sarah and I are working on the budget part of that. Of course, her and her staff will be working on that. Also, in the ARPA funds, there are some funds to increase the number of driver hours that we have, which I think you all know, transportation is a huge issue here in town, particularly for people who need to go out of where Dial-A-Ride would go. So we're looking to add some driver hours so that we can bring somebody else in, particularly for wheelchair transportation, which there aren't a lot of options. And the ones that are out there are very expensive for people. So, and again, trip to Medline, Sarah will talk a little bit more about that. So in our budget, like I said, we have looked to increase our nutrition programs. And at this point, that was in the town manager's budget that he presented to the council. Sustain our regular programs that we have, and effectively use some of the ARPA funds that are being designated here for the senior center. So that's the budget. I'm talking about building personnel. We have one person out on leave right now. And we've had and again, Sarah can talk about how the staffing here is handling that. And we also have hired a new person, Leslie, who took Jessica's position. So we're very pleased with her. If you're over here on Wednesday mornings, she is on the senior center side Wednesdays. So to help out with staffing over here and meet some of the needs on the senior center side of the budget. So that's where we are right now. Does anybody have any questions about budget or something else that if you watch the budget, you'll see every year the council, we have a 270 account that's outside of the regular general fund budget that money that we fundraise for and fees that we generate for activities, but then also pay for the instructors come out of. So anything that we do that does not incur a fee, like if we buy decorations, if we pay for an entertainer, if we, there's a number of things that we go get out of that 270 account. During COVID, we did not charge for any of our programs, but of course we paid instructors and that we had, purchase supplies, all kinds of things. So that account has been, the balance isn't as healthy as it was before. And again, our programs are coming back, but they'll come back slowly as people feel more comfortable coming into the building. And we still want to be able to offer programs. So, so that did come up. In fact, a council member brought that up. Like I said, normally we get $5,000, which is less than $500 a month which is not a lot of money for all those things that you probably don't think about. Anything that we do here that doesn't cost, or we subsidize the costs, or we lose money on, comes out of that account. So one of the council members did suggest to increase that amount from 5,000. So that also, which would be incredibly helpful here right now. So I don't think people understand that we don't get a big programming budget over here. It's pretty much, we're thankful that they pay for the building and the regular staffing that we have here, but the rest of it does come out of this other fund. So, which again, we do some fund development for. So those are kind of the basics of the budget. We're in a very healthy place overall in the Human Service Department this year in our budget. Probably have some surpluses because of COVID and some expenditures that we had anticipated that were lower because, for example, training, which we normally have to spend quite a substantial amount because we have licensed people who have to get CPUs. Some of that was suspended during COVID, and then a number of the trainings are now virtual. So the good thing about that is we get to send more people because it's less expensive and we're spending less money. The challenge with that is, sometimes the training isn't quite as high quality as it might be if you were in person. So, but anyway, so questions for me, any at all? Okay.
Okay. Sarah?
All right. So yeah, there's a lot happening here. We are excited about that. April is Volunteer Appreciation Month. All of you should have received an invitation to our event tomorrow night. I hope that you are able to join us if you can. It was interesting for us when we looked back at the numbers. In the past, we've had hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. But again, like Pat said, because of COVID, a lot of those things that volunteers were doing did not happen over that year and a half period. We still had about 50 volunteers provide, hundreds of hours of volunteer service during that time. So we're really proud of that, excited about that, but also looking forward to, okay, how do we sort of rebuild this back to where it was? Other than that, we will have sort of a smaller gathering tomorrow night to celebrate them. Our intention was to give everybody a special night out to kind of put your heels up and have some fun. So I do hope you'll be able to join us. Like Pat mentioned, for April, one of the choices we made was to start offering our Fresh Friday lunches, both in person and as drive-thrus. We were very curious to see how that would shake down. We held our first one on Friday. What do you think? Anybody got an estimate? Anybody want to take a stab at how the numbers broke down?
Drive-through is better.
Yeah, we had 2/3 of the people chose drive-through and 1/3 chose in person. That meant it was about 20 people in person and 40 drive-through. We thought that was interesting. I would have thought the in-person would have been more at first. Interestingly enough, I think this will ebb and flow. The next time we have it, we have an entertainer coming in to do a show, and it's somebody everybody loves. So it's more half and half. But there's still a really healthy portion of people that are choosing that drive-through. We're not sure that'll go away. We may continue to offer that. It was easy enough. We have the best volunteers in the world, and they ran 2 stations, one out the back door and one in the dining room. So we're looking at that for May. And when we can do that realistically, we will. We've heard a lot of people saying to us this month that for the first time, it feels back to normal. It feels like the center used to. There's more people, the coffee is out. That's probably it, actually. There was a lot of programming, so we're really excited about that. And again, we want to encourage people to let us know what you're looking for. This is the time. This is the time for us to be really creative about what do we bring back, what do we put our effort into, how do we move forward. For May, a couple of goals, like Pat said, we are looking to relaunch the cafe. This is going to start at a modified level. We're going to just open it for coffee and baked goods to start. We're going to get our volunteers trained back on running that counter and staffing it from 9 to 2 every day. That is not a small undertaking. We have, like she said, been approved to hire a kitchen assistant for up to 19 hours. That is the person that will come in and handle the majority of food prep for that cafe. Instead of me. It was important when we launched that for me to do it and to understand what we needed to have in place as processes, and to work out all the bugs. Now we are ready to extend Sharon's hours, bring in an assistant, and let them kind of take that and run. So I can't tell you when we're going to start those lunches again. It really will be dependent on HR and the hiring process and how quickly they can get somebody in here. But once that person's here and we can get them trained, that will be goal number 2. So that's super exciting. We're also doing some fun stuff. We're going to do a Mother's Day brunch in May, and we're going to do some safety giveaways and use some of the stuff that you had established way back with your emergency preparedness pamphlet.
Okay.
So it's all up there.
All the triads.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, all that
That was a
safety
fun
stuff. We
program.
thought it was, and this was actually an interesting story. We were putting together new welcome packets for people. We have a folder when a new person starts. And we have all these file of life. You know what a file of life is?
Yeah.
So the receptionist was stuffing them. Every single person that went by was like, oh, could I have one of those? Oh, could I have one of those? Okay. And we were like, well, yes, but maybe we should do a giveaway again. Maybe it's time for us to revisit this. So for the month of May, we will invite people to stop in. We have locking medication bags, timed medication containers, medication dissolving bags. If people have medication, painkillers, things like that they do not want in their house. There's dissolving medication bags that we'll have available and file of lives for people to take with them and use. So that'll be kind of one of our themes for May. As Pat mentioned, Jamel is on maternity leave. That's outreach and transportation. Those are 2 critical pieces of our program. So the way we decided to work that is Mary will be covering transportation and trips in the time that Jamel is out. It should work exactly the same for anybody calling to ask for services. They call, you give them a ride. So that's how that works. But if people have questions, Mary is their best contact. In terms of the outreach piece, I will be working on that and mostly referring people to people who can help people in her absence. Senior resources, we have Kathy Ann here. We'll get people in touch with the right people to be able to help them with outreach services between now and then. All right, we have not heard about the baby yet. So she went out last Monday and we got a text Wednesday, there was no baby. But we thought we would hear Thursday. We thought we'd hear Friday. So I said to Jordan this morning, you got to text her. We got to know. So we will let you know when we hear. I'm sure everybody is fine, but
We do know it's a boy.
it is a little boy. So we'll let you know when we have the official news.
I was under the impression that once they induced, it was kind of automatic.
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
No,
Not for her.
the wonders of modern medicine with the natural miracle of childbirth.
It's interesting, some people, they just don't progress.
Yeah.
So, 3 days.
Right.
3, 4 days.
So we'll keep you posted. And then again, we have this opportunity to probably offer or hire another driver for 12 hours a week. We are looking at how we want to use that time to expand our transportation services in the way that makes the most sense. If you have input, ideas, suggestions, let us know. One of the things we're going to do right off the bat, and we're starting this in May, we're going to do shopping trips every week. So folks can do errands, shopping, pick up things around town. And then again, we'll kind of wait for that person to come on board to see what that next step will be. All right, so I think that's it. Got a lot happening this month. Check it out.
Got a lot of trips.
Absolutely, a lot of trips, a lot of fun programs. Any questions?
New kickboxing.
That's true. Yeah.
So, good way for people to get out of their aggression.
Okay.
What aggression.
I don't know who it was, but I hear one of the quotes was, "I just want to start hitting something."
Oh, that aggression.
That's what the instructor told me. "You just want to start hitting something." Because he's showing form now.
Okay, well, anything new on WRTD?
Well, yeah. Okay, I was sent down here by this agency and by the mayor to try to straighten out things that happened in the past. Unfortunately, I'm running into a roadblock. They told me outright that there's a town responsibility for bus shelters. It's not their responsibility. I tried to make some adjustments to their title ride program. The reason that all this happened in the past was they have this thing called a script, where a person can go down and say, I want to go from my house to my work 6 days a week from 8 o'clock in the morning, and I want you to pick me up and bring me home. And they put this in, every week they put this in. So when one of our guys needs to go to get a medical thing, well, the bus is full because all these people, and they just did this. So I tried to make some adjustments to that by saying that, scripts expire within 3 months ago. Use them, or, if you're late one time, your script is gone. And these, I'm getting nowhere, okay? I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna resign. Okay, I don't want to be on that committee anymore. I just don't know what to do about it. I tried to get WRTD more involved in advertising in here so that seniors know what's going on. Twice I gave them the Sparks. Twice I told them in the back of the Sparks, there's a little thing for businesses, put your business card. Twice they put in a full-size ad. Okay, and then at the last meeting, they said, we don't have that kind of money to put in there. And that kind of, because now one of the other towns wants to do it. I said, okay, well, they'll do it, So right now, they're all tied up with this Yukon thing. As you well know, they all took over Yukon buses. WRTD now is in charge of all the Yukon. So I got a funny feeling that we're gonna get nowhere. Okay? So I really don't know what to do. I guess maybe you gotta get suggestions or stuff like that.
Well, I think this is where we're gonna invest some time and money into our service and
Right.
see if we
Well,
can start to fill some of that gap. But you're right, we're getting our head against the wall.
I'm gonna
and
make a suggestion that we make to the town council, and that we send a letter to the town council and tell them to cut their funding. The only thing that I believe that they really do good about is ADA. Okay, they do really good with ADA. As far as dial-a-ride and the buses are concerned, cut it. Cut their budget, take that money, put it in our transportation budget. That's my suggestion. And I think that's something that we should do. Okay? I'm sorry, folks, I tried.
Good job.
You did a lot. You got that whole Juniper Hill run. That was awesome.
The only thing I did accomplish, I got the bus stop from.
That was
Oh.
big.
And the other side, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
want the bus shelter moved,
I'll be honest with you, I think their focus is going to be on Yukon
Absolutely.
transportation and getting Yukon students
Absolutely.
now. And although the town gets great, if you were saying they did all of our dial-a-ride program, bang for your buck, because of the way they incorporated into the grant, we know that it's just not working for most people.
No.
We know that. Particularly for medical transportation, where you don't have an awful lot of leeway. So I think there has to be a better answer for our people.
I think so.
I don't know that they can take the money away per se, but it may just cost them more. That's, I mean, that's my.
Well, I mean, I make the suggestion that
because
we.
Some of it they have to, it's their town share because of the transit lines.
Okay,
So,
well,
but, you're right. I mean, we get calls all the time for people wanting us to provide the service because we're more reliable and, and that's tough. Because we in no way are in a position to provide that level of transportation with the resources we have right now.
I also told them that, I'm gonna cut your budget. I told them point blank, we're gonna meet. And they said, were you threatening us? I don't know, that's a promise, man. You people are gonna. do
Mansfield
something.
has more votes because we have Mansfield and Willimantic have the two highest number of, they weigh heavily because they pay more and more of the lines go in those two areas. So it's weighted, but I'm not sure how that works.
I know, but at the same point.
Do they have a second representative from Mansfield or
Yeah.
who just did? One of the council people or?
No, Caitlin.
From our transit,
From-
from our, she's a
Library.
library, but she runs the
Yeah,
intermodal.
yeah, I mean, WRTD went to the town council and the mayor got up and told them right on the spot that our senior problem that we had here, told them right to their face, okay? And they still, so, like I said,
Well, a big portion of their money now does come from Yukon, as you know.
right now, all I hear up there is Yukon. I'm just considering Yukon up to here.
Is there a point other than in the general budget where their services are reviewed by the council for any reason?
No, other than if representatives bring the issues to the council.
You're in, Will?
Huh?
He and Caitlin. In the past, the town manager has served in one of those and the council people have. But that hasn't,
Monticello was here for.
yeah, but that hasn't been for a while. It's tough because, well, it's just tough. It's a quasi-government entity. It's just run differently. That's the only way I can say it. And, we just know it's not fully working for people. And it just feels, you feel really bad. I mean, I don't think people understand how disconnected you can be if you're totally dependent on your transportation. On them for your transportation. And in some ways they're responsive and other ways they're not. I know we had problems at Juniper Hill unless people waited outside in the cold and they didn't see you, they would just drive by. So people
Well,
couldn't wait
they
inside.
don't stop, they should stop right in front of the building, at least 30 seconds.
Right,
Okay, when it's cold, like you just said,
right,
I'm sitting inside.
yeah,
Give us 30 seconds to get out the door.
right,
They just drive up around, they don't even stop and walk.
right. And they tell us they can't or whatever, or they tell us they are, and that's the way the schedule's
Well,
supposed to
they're
run.
not, trust me.
But, I mean, I can't tell you, I've been part of that bus thing, for just going around, because it used to be in here, which was great for people.
Yeah.
But then they bought the buses that they couldn't do the turnaround, which changed everything. And they said it would be better because they could take more people. Well, that's not necessarily better for seniors and persons with disabilities. That's better for students, because they can pack the students in, but it's not necessarily better for, the other situations. So, and when it's hot, you see people sitting out here in the sun. So it's not ideal. So, you're right.
So, I mean, if we want that bus shelter to move, the only thing we can do is we can
Push the
go
town.
to the town and have,
And John,
the town. John is wonderful.
he's
John
been
is-
great with
is-
this, but
is-
it's just been, because
He's
I
set
think
up
they
too.
said if they poured the
No, John,
flat, or they,
no,
or it was the other way.
John told me that, and I brought that up to
Yeah.
him too. John told me that they offered WRT that they would move the shelter. the town would absorb all the cost of it. All they had to do was buy the materials.
Right.
That's all they had to do, was buy the materials. Well, WRTD came back and said, well, yes, you can, yes, but you have to send out and get 3 bids for all the material. 3 bids for the sand, 3 bids for the rock, 3 bids for the board, 3 bids for this, 3 bids for that. And the town was doing the bulk of the work,
Right.
okay? It would have cost them maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500 in material to move that thing. And that's what they were told. You've got this Marge down here, she's the chairman of the board, and
She's from Coventry, right?
Huh?
Isn't she from Coventry?
yeah,
What's her last name?
you know her?
Which is interesting because, again, you would think it would be someone from Willimantic or Manchester who are the chairs, because they're really, I mean, Coventry pays next to nothing for dial-a-ride service, because there's no runs, there's no bus runs in there. So their percentage is very, very low. Willimantic is biggest, and then Mansfield. So I'm not sure why Marge would be the chair of the board, but I mean,
she's been
quite
the chair for
frankly,
years.
Matt was the chair or the vice chair when he was there,
Yeah,
but,
well, maybe the vice chair.
and then the town manager from Willimantic was also on it at that time. So
So
that was when they were in such a mess that they needed to be straightened out.
consequently, you know that I'm not loved down there, so that's.
Regarding the waiting time for somebody to get out the door,
Right.
am I correct in thinking this is the same bus line that goes through not through Rolling Hills, but in the turnaround at the clubhouse? I remember when I was still going to bingo, seeing them coming in for their evening run. And I'm almost sure they sat outside there for a few seconds anyway, as opposed to just going straight through for the turnaround.
Well,
And they say they
That's
can't
different.
stop, but
Jensen's wasn't a stop that was active, okay? There was maybe once a month or twice a month that somebody would sit on that bench and wait for a ride. So it wasn't, it was a stop, yeah, you could use the bus and everything else. You gotta understand that buses are for people who don't have cars or can't have a car. Because if you got a car, you're not gonna take a bus, okay? 99% of people in Jensen's have cars, so they're not gonna take buses. I think there was only one person that I know of who, their family took the car away from him and everything else, that he would go out there and sit and take the bus to go do his shopping and everything else. There was only one that I can remember in 20 years that took the bus. So it's not a very popular bus stop, okay? So I don't know if that answers your question.
so they would
That's-
only,
I mean, if nobody's there, they're
so
not
they
gonna sit
would
there and
only
wait.
make a stop if they had an actual
If somebody
request
was there.
for somebody to be.
Yeah, because nobody's there every time they go.
I will
Okay.
also say that with the new developments that are happening in town and the demand that's going to be on the transportation, because a lot of that will be student housing.
Yeah, the new
Um,
one.
we know that.
So you're gonna probably see some other shifts, because those are gonna be the times where they can stop and pick up, 30 people at a bus stop. So what happens is then the resources shift because the numbers have shifted. So, that's just the way of it. So the town will have to figure out how it's going to deal with transportation for people who it has to be available in order for them to remain independent in the community, but they may be slower to get on and off the bus, and there may be fewer people to pick up in those sets. That's going to be the challenge.
So going forward, if the social services had the monitored resources, could you somehow absorb?
It's the
Have to
monetary
expand
resources and the infrastructure. So we now have one van that's really hard to get parts to replace. We've got a new van, those need regular servicing and stuff. So essentially, and we have, a driver that's paid for through a grant. And a person who part-time coordinates transportation, both the volunteer and other. Part of their salary is paid for through the grant. And now the ARPA funds will pay for some drivers. So the town's investment in our part of the program is very minimal. I'm just telling you. So they would have to make a conscious decision, and then they would have to build the infrastructure, which would be more staffing from a driver and a dispatching point of view, more vehicles. And again, it affects everything from fuel costs for the town, vehicle maintenance. I mean, to maintain these vans are a little more involved. So it would be a policy change on their part. And with the price tag, that's what it's not small. Having run transportation programs in 3 other towns, I know what those budgets, like, and again, those are bigger transportation programs, but still, it's a staff and cost, it's a good, healthy cost center.
So I guess we just.
But here's what I'm looking at. This is why I'm really encouraged right now. As long as we can, we're gonna run those 2 vans. When we're able to hire a second driver, that means that doubles our capacity right there. We are looking at creative ways to not have each ride be one-on-one. That's a challenge, right? Particularly in the van. So I think right now where we're sitting, we've had more resources than we've ever had. If we take these next 2.5 years to show what we can do with this, then we can make a case that this needs to be an ongoing investment. I do want to give a shout out to our volunteer drivers, and I'm looking at 2 of them right now. We are not turning a lot of rides away. I will tell you, and I can bring you a snapshot one of these next meetings. We are not turning a lot of rides away, and it's because of you guys. So we are able to use Dave primarily right now for all of our trips and our accessible rides. When we have a second person for 12 hours coming in to help with medical, that's only going to expand that. So we're in a good spot. We're going to make the most of what we're being given right now, and then see where that leads us in terms of what we need to ask for going down the road.
So what you're saying is that we are turning some rides away?
We always will.
We always will. We always will. It is never going to be a 100% thing, but it is less than I've seen since I've been here. And kudos to you guys. Kudos to Jamel. She's done a great job building that team. We've been in a good run with it lately. Now that ebbs and flows. And this is what Pat and I've been saying, why we need a driver. You can't always count on volunteers. Something could happen at some point, and that is not a guarantee. You can't design a transportation program around volunteers. But we are in a unique spot right now where both pieces are working very well together.
What kinds of drives get turned away?
Well,
Is it due to location?
it depends.
Or timing?
It could be due to 100 different things. One could be, it's a day we have a trip and there's 15 people signed up for a trip.
Oh,
That's a problem. That's been a problem before these 2 vans. That will not be as much of a problem anymore when we now have a second driver and a second van. But that was one
I
of the
think
big
I was
issues.
referring to the medical appointments that the drivers.
Right.
Right.
So if
That's
someone
something.
calls for an accessible ride, when we have 1 van and a trip, we can't do that ride.
And that happened to me once. I
Oh,
knew
sure.
you guys said you had a trip going on that day.
So, and the trips are scheduled, maybe a month in advance, or we've bought tickets, so that has been a really challenging piece.
But that's with the van.
Correct.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
accessible rides
Yeah.
for medical appointments can only be done in the van.
Right.
Okay.
Wheelchairs. and-
The other medical rides it's either availability or timing or, those types of things.
Or they need constant, like they're going for dialysis, or they're going for, in the same way that you were talking about those script rides that they were saying. We can't say to someone, we're gonna take you forever to dialysis 3 days a week. We just can't do, we don't have the resources to do that. The other thing is the grant pays, which is nice, it's a way to kind of maintain volunteers a little bit more, is the grant also pays a mileage stipend. Right, and with the price of gas and everything else, that's great. People are more comfortable using their own cars and therefore you don't have to worry about, balancing the vehicles that we have.
Here's our driver, everybody's favorite. This is the Commission on Aging, we're just talking about transportation.
All right. 1 o'clock?
Yes. 1 o'clock.
I put the chair back in the van. So security man, so he can take us through.
All right. Thank you. I will see you.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Hi, Dave.
But anyway, transportation is an ongoing issue. It's going to continue to be an ongoing issue, and it can absolutely be different between someone, if someone can remain independent in the community or not. I mean, it's vital to have that available.
This is a good time for us to know what's happening, what the issues are in your
Right.
areas, in your neighborhoods, what people are looking for. If people are being turned away, we're keeping track of the requests we get. But if you're hearing things, suggestions, ideas about how do we use this, and meet the most needs.
Right.
Let us
Another
know.
challenge is the long drives. Drives for people, quite frankly, a lot of volunteers don't want to drive through Hartford and out to Farmington to Yukon. I mean, that's a real challenge. A lot of people don't want to drive into Hartford. They don't mind going to Glastonbury or Manchester or some, but it's tough driving, tough parking and all of that in certain locations. I mean, and then the early morning or late appointments are a challenge as well. So it's, there's that whole, but in general, I think people are real happy with our transportation program.
I agree.
The complaints we hear from the other transportation programs.
And the things I'm hearing over the last few weeks because of the whole Yukon piece is that people are spending a lot more time on the bus.
Right.
Whereas a ride could be 20 minutes, they're on there for an hour or
On that
circling
more than
around.
once.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had a woman who I stumbled on it. She wasn't gonna come tomorrow night because she can't rely on dial-a-ride, that she's gonna get here on time and get home when she needs to. So I'm gonna pick her up. Because we're not having her miss the party because the ride isn't a guarantee. But those are the things we hear, which really does have an effect on your life.
And
It
just so you
does.
know, almost all of our staff are public service certified. So, because that was one of the things the council asked, what do you do if you, it's like, well, we have, and that's youth services, and that's senior services. So we have a lot of ability, we've invested in that, in the staff, and the staff see it as important. And it's in a lot of the job descriptions that you have to have your public service license. And that's why, because if someone's dependent on on a ride, you want to make every effort to make sure that they're able to get to essential appointments and services. So,
Okay, so I don't know, what do you want me to do? You want me to stay here and see what I can do? Or, you guys sent me down there.
right. But again, and keep reporting to the council what's going on. Council and town manager.
All right, well, I guess I'll make an appointment and go and talk to the town manager, I guess.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
Tell him what's going on down here and
See what you can.
see what happens.
Yeah, and you
Sorry,
can tell
folks,
them
I tried.
You can tell them that
Yeah.
in the past,
Sorry, it's been
you can tell
frustrating.
them, in the past, the town manager has served on that board.
Yeah.
So,
Now, the town's budget is set up so that the piece to WRTD is just
That's out
a
of the
block. You
transit.
can't designate within that, but
It used to be in my budget, it's now in the transportation budget, when they established that transportation
It's-
account.
It's $135,000 a year we give it, folks. It's, it's not just, it's a lot of money.
but we can't designate as a town that we want this concentrated on the programs.
I don't know. I don't know what we can do.
We're responsible for our portion of the general and the ADA. That's like, I think statutorily set. Dial-a-ride, I'm not sure. But they use that as part of, to offset some of the grant funds they get, so.
From what I understand, they have three portions to the grant.
Yeah.
Okay, they got the bus WRTD portion, they have the ADA portion, and they have the dial-a-ride portion. Okay, I mean, even if we send them a message and do something about the dial-a-ride, send them a message, hey, you guys, I don't know, I'll back after this, I'll go.
Yeah.
Make an appointment and talk to
Yeah,
Ryan.
right.
Do what he
Well,
wants
we
to do.
appreciate your doing that, Bill, and I would encourage you to hang in there. It's an important source of information for us.
Okay,
And I mean, you gotta take the victories when you get them.
Yeah.
The Juniper Hill one was a good one.
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
was all you. And
the
that
stuff
happened
on
like
the other
that when
side,
you went up.
so
So people didn't have to ride
Don't
all the
overlook
way
that.
around.
Stuff was good.
You know, people used to have to ride all the way around to get their turn back instead of being able to hop on. So that's good as well, those two.
Okay. You guys are gonna owe me big time.
Sarah,
I'll make you coffee.
yeah,
Can I ask a question?
the medical ride a month from now.
Yep.
Can you schedule it? and be a
Yes.
certain-
Sooner
Yes.
better,
Yep.
yes, do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Nancy
Yes,
got a
yes, let me have a
question.
question.
Hi, Dan.
Can I ask a question? I don't know how I appear here, but I've been living with this transportation issue for like 30 years. I once said to somebody from the Department of Social Services, this is going to be on my gravestone. Please fix the transportation system in this state. But does anybody know if, Title 19 or Medicaid has a medical medical transportation system, VAO? Is that working at all in this area? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Lori McMorrow used to be able to kind of fill me in on that. Is it at all?
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
We just updated our transportation brochure. This is like 3 weeks ago, and I think Jamel came to me and was like, this isn't functioning anymore. I can confirm that. Like, let me look and poke around a little bit, but I don't think it is.
I mean,
We gotta-
they're
It's
paying,
eventually
they rented the contract, but I don't know if anybody actually uses that in this area.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
From what I understand, Nancy, this is the issue. Most of those drivers also are part of Lyft and they're part of Uber.
right,
So what happens is they make more money off Lyft and Uber. So
right.
often they'll cancel the ride for the Title 19 person to pick up a Lyft or Uber ride.
I got
And
you.
now they're doing DoorDash and like they're doing multiple of those pickup and transport.
Right. So, yeah, no, so that's been a problem in the past, even before Uber and, the tax, I could get a regular thing. So, one of the problems of the transportation system that has just been totally dysfunctional is so often it has fallen on our homemakers. Oh, could you please take us? And, they really are not set up. They don't have those kind of cars, and endure. So I was just wondering about that. Also was wondering, do people use Uber and Lyft at all? And does that work for people? Is it just way expensive?
So people do use it, but again, most of the drivers are students and their
Yeah.
availability is often a challenge. I mean, we're in a fairly rural area, so we probably don't have as many, and availability is an
Right.
issue from what I hear.
Right. Okay. I was just kind of curious about that. So anyway, okay, that was my question. I just didn't know if they're doing any kind of, Title 19 medical transportation at all in this area. So
I can tell you that other professional counterparts of us, other
Mhm.
colleagues in areas that are a little more densely populated, suburban or urban areas, Lyft and Uber is working much better for them.
right. Yes. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. It's set up.
It's
So
not a viable option, I can tell you. And I hear that from the council sometimes. They'll say, why aren't people using Uber or Lyft? And it's because availability in this area isn't the same as it would be if we were in, against, first of all, this is a big square miles town.
oh, I know.
People need to go a longer distance. So that's another problem as well, that people are more apt to, you're probably going to be luckier if you're trying to go to the airport, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Than trying to maneuver around here.
Right.
Or go to a medical appointment.
Right.
Poke around and I'm gonna look into that, Nance, and I'll send you an email. And I think she makes a really good point when she says that it often falls to the homemaker. So if somebody gets 8 hours of homemaking a week and they gotta spend 4 of it going to an appointment because that's their best way of getting there, then they're losing other services. So it's this, you really have to look at that whole picture.
Right.
how that affects people's care and their ability to stay independently.
Right.
That's cool, thank you.
Well, and then her availability is affected by whether you're close to a bus route and all of that as well, correct, Nancy?
Yes,
I would,
right. One thing about the state of Connecticut, because a lot of our people are, we contract through the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders, is that they don't pay mileage to us, but they kind of expect us to do it. So it's kind of one of those weird things. So, and, once again, for somebody to have a car in the state, it's very expensive for our homemakers to even maintain a car. And, with the insurance, and their cars are, sometimes not real adequate, so anyway, yeah, it's a problem, but it always has been, and, always will be, I guess, but I appreciate all you're doing though, as far as trying to really tackle it. So.
You posted.
Okay, Will, you want to put your other hat on and do?
Oh, the clubhouse is finally open, so
Yay.
I'm going to refrain from talking about it because, as far as I'm concerned, they didn't really do anything to make any more space. They actually took all the tables that we could fold and they threw them away. We paid over $100 a piece for them. And then they brought in these tables with legs about this big around, steel legs. And it takes 2 people to lift them up and move them. We got less tables. I don't want to get started on Sun community, okay?
But they're very pretty.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, they are.
Oh, they are, they're just
They're very
lovely,
pretty.
but
And
God.
they made the mistake of, our dartboards were up because we have the dart thing and we use them so often. We're doing it up in the winter for a couple of months, then we take them down and throw them away. Well, they were up there when we were going through this. One thing is you can't tell them anything. They know it all, they're the boss. You can't suggest anything to this. Okay? So what they did was they went out and they bought 5 brand new dartboards. The kind that open up, have a slate on the side. We're not that good, we're gonna bust that slate. I mean, they're beautiful. Well, darts was canceled this year because of COVID, because of the thing being made, being renovated. And then the person who's in charge of the darts is from out of the park because none of us know how to do it. She was the one who's in charge of it. So now chances are we're never going to have them in the dart contest. It's our real league. So I mean,
We'll do a group, come on over.
I mean,
Senior center trip to pick.
really, they seem to be a comedy of errors. Okay.
these
They
people
sound like they
have-
got to know the community before they
These
started.
people have no idea how to deal with seniors,
They don't.
not a clue. They are basically in the upscale and resort market.
Every
And then they buy us.
every newsletter we got, every friggin' newsletter that we have has 4 pages of don'ts.
I've been seeing that. I've been reading.
Okay?
Yeah.
Don't.
I'm trying to get them not to do that anymore, but it's an uphill battle.
I feel like April's was much better.
I'm sorry.
April's was an improvement. It was better than March, but I did notice that. It seems like a lot of rules, a lot of new.
Yeah. Don't do this, don't do that, we'll fine you for this, the clubhouse belongs to Sun, it doesn't belong to you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's all this,
I mean, the whole tone of this 2.5-page screed was absolute aggression. And thou shalt not, or God bless you, we're
no,
gonna.
yeah.
And I just,
We know what's good for you.
oh yeah,
You got that? Exactly.
Is there some kind of group,
Huh?
resident advisory committee that participates?
Guess who's in charge of the communications committee for the Rolling Hills? Okay? We used to go in there and Jensen would come in, Mike would come in, it's the thing, and we go around, we tell them, well, you know, this person's got this person's got that. We go around the park and mark down little things. Jensen would mark it out and give it to Mike. Mike would go around and, you know, fix everything and do everything. The next meeting we had, he reported. Well, when they came in, I did the same thing. Okay, for the first meeting only. Okay. And then our quote unquote representative came in and said, this is my job. I will go around and I will find out what's going on and I will tell them what they have to do to fix it. So they just went to communications committee. Because what they want you to do is they want you to squeal on your neighbor. And I won't do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, it's just the fact that Judy and I were talking about it. That's all bad.
Oh, my word. It's going
That's all bad.
downhill in a hurry. It really is. They just, I mean, this is 55 and up community. And they're putting in double wides everywhere they can possibly squeeze them onto a lot legally. Thank God, the president of our, what's left of our community, and I meet once a month, and she's on planning and zoning. The only good thing about this was my big question to her was, can they put two little single wide lots together and plop a double wide on it? And she said, no, they have to go through planning and zoning in order to change the lot layout and plan that was in place when Jensen zoned it. That's the only thing saving me from having another big shiny new double wide custom on this side to match the one they just put on that side of me.
Have to excuse
Okay,
myself.
Dave, I know you have to leave. Any comments or questions?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Will, keep the faith.
It's an uphill battle, folks.
And again, if you have input, the public meeting on the budget is tonight.
Well, frankly, what we have overseeing Rolling Hills basically is somebody who I think is a little bit over her head in her position to begin with, who is also a micromanager, which puts her deeper in the hole.
This new one doesn't sound.
I'm
any
sorry,
better. The new one that we got doesn't sound any better.
Alicia?
Yeah.
She's the one in the office, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, hours are posted to be, I think, 9 to 2. But if you need to see her, be sure and call ahead to make sure she's there.
Yeah, it's just, okay, let's get off the Jensen's.
I say clear the door.
I have nothing.
Try, please, go ahead.
I have nothing. I wanted to meet with someone from Glen Ridge, with Will, but the month got away from me, so.
Okay, well, whenever you're, you know, just give me a shout whenever you're ready.
Still working on it.
Okay, good. Mary?
Me? Yeah, some of this kind of a repeat from last month, but, whatever. The generators where the cottages are in, now they're in the process of putting in outlets, one outlet per cottage. So if the power goes out, they can plug in their cell phone, you know, whatever they need to do. So with that, they ran into a few problems, but they're working on it. Lori, as you know, had left. I heard through the grapevine that they're in the process of interviewing someone for her position. Heather is there right now. She's on Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays. So, and again, they're trying to fill in the other 2 days with somebody. You know, Joe had left. They hired Mario, which is, you know, working out great. We all met him. Really nice young man. So we wish him well. The rent rebate is going on. The foot care clinic, hearing screening, blood pressure clinic, they're all happening now. The librarian from Mansfield Library has returned. Once a month, Peggy. So, you know, showing video on different sites throughout our country or anywhere else in the world. And they started up again with yoga classes on Wednesday afternoon. A lot of people like that. And that's it for now. It's been pretty quiet. I mean, we are progressing with activities and getting into the dining room more. We can have, like if I wanted to invite my niece for lunch, she can come in, sit with us. So they're opening up the dining room more to outsiders. But, just, one, family, friend, whoever. So that's been really good, going pretty well right now. We're just, again, keeping an eye on the, it's going up a little bit, so keeping an eye on that. Hopefully it'll stay where it is or even go down for that matter. Okay, thank you, John.
Okay. It's 10:37. We don't watch the clock too closely, but we can try and keep to an hour. Under the old business, I'm a bit concerned that we've been trying to put together a report to the town council, and in 3 months, it really hasn't moved at all. So I think it's probably time to figure out, is there another approach that we need to take? So we'll just.
Has there been any progress whatever on ascertaining the percentage of senior taxpayers?
No, not on taxpayers. I've got a source for those over 65, not. Over 65. Yeah, the census does over 65. The senior center is over 55. So there's a little disconnect there, and I don't think there's a way to correct it. But those numbers are available. I'm convinced of that, and I think I've got a way now to do it. There's a figure of the Mansfield population on Wikipedia, which comes from the 2020 census. Okay. So that if in the queries, I can match that figure for total population, then I think I can dissect it down and ask for over 55. Okay. I don't see any way to really get those who vote or those who pay taxes. But the other thing, I've been going through the old Commission on Aging minutes. Other than it's been interesting, nothing really different. But in 1974, there was an opening of the senior center, but it wasn't this building.
Right. Grammar school? Right? The firehouse.
Yes, right. Yeah. And it was strictly volunteers.
Yeah.
There's no other thing. Yeah. So you've got to look at the big picture sometimes. We are making progress. We've come a long way. And I'm sure our predecessors bat their head against the wall as much as we do.
That's a good point, John.
Thank you for that.
Is everybody pleased with the hybrid approach? It seems to be working.
Well, we're here.
Yeah. And next month, we'll know there's coffee. So May 9th.
Right, and maybe
And
stoves.
actually, maybe, yeah. Besides coffee.
I'm looking now, was it the 9th? All right, yeah, I'll be here. Okay.
Nancy, did you hear that? Are you pleased with the hybrid?
Oh, you're muted.
You're mute, Nancy.
Okay.
So is Devin.
You're mute. There you go.
Are you,
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
are you pleased with the hybrid way of doing
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, I always envision, I'm sort of like the Wizard of Oz. We all saw that, right? You know, it's like,
You're behind the curtain.
on your end. Yeah,
Yeah,
Devin.
you-
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
yeah,
good with,
it works out good.
The only thing is I couldn't see everybody, so I just wanted to double check I had everyone in attendance.
It's Will. Hi. Will is here. Matt.
He woke up unhappy from his nap, so I had to go off screen for it. Usually I time it right to nap from 9:30 to 10:30.
Dave.
David who left. He had to leave at right before.
I have present John, Martina, myself, David, Will, Mary, Nancy, Lauren, Joanne.
No, Joanne's not here.
Joanne's not here, David.
And you missed Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Sylvie's here as well.
I have Sylvie. Okay, so just Joanne was not here. Okay. Thank you.
I think the other question we had is we didn't get any kind of, and Devin and I kind of noticed this, we didn't get anything in the email, any kind of like notice of the meeting. Is that going to be the standard now? I found the agenda on the Mansfield Commission on Aging.
Dorothy's on. She might be on the phone or whatever. But Dorothy normally sends out with the attachment of the minutes and the agenda. And I'm assuming that Devin got it to her if they're available on the.
No, she didn't get it. I sent her, I found an agenda. I took a picture of it and sent it to her because she
helped me out. I wasn't sure I didn't have the link. She helped me so I could log on.
Right.
Yeah, I generally try and send out a reminder email.
Right.
This
Right.
meeting's stuck on me.
We've gotten spoiled, John. We count on you.
If it
Right,
wasn't
right.
for- You wouldn't even have an agenda, and you wouldn't have a legal meeting, so.
Thank you,
Right.
Dorothy.
Yay, Dorothy.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know. So it just was maybe an oversight this time. I just wanted to find out.
Okay, I guess we're ready to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well,
Not yet.
one thing, we talked about the mayor coming.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said you were working on an email.
Am I? Oh dear, I didn't realize I was working on an email.
Glad you brought
I'm
that
sorry,
up,
I'm
Martina.
sorry.
Okay, I got.
David was gonna work on an email.
Oh, David and I, right.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
so we each have oversight.
Yes, yes.
I
I
will
have some
confess
news.
as well, we forgot this meeting completely. So we had the room set up for birding for 25 people and Jordan and I had to take all those chairs down and put these tables up. So it's Monday.
I have some news.
Okay.
When Jolene Wilmsey and the other one, what's her name? The other one from planning, when they were here
Linda.
giving the thing.
Oh, no, it wasn't,
On affordable housing.
Right.
Well, now, I said I wasn't going to do this, okay? I told everybody that after what happened to me the last time, that I wasn't going to take charge, I wasn't going to do it, okay? But I said to myself, I said, well, they're forming a committee, affordable housing committee. So I went home and I put in an application for the committee. And about 2 seconds later, I get a reply from the town clerk, the committee on committees, whatever the hell it is, wants to talk to you at such and such a night. I said, okay. So I got there and my turn came up and I looked at him and I said, well, I said, what you people need, I said, is you need senior representation on this committee. I said, the town of Mansfield is not good to seniors. That's exactly what I told him. Okay, and I went on about, so too many things and everything else. So I went home and I said, well, that one, they don't want me on this committee because I'm gonna be causing a lot of trouble. Well, woe is me, guess what I got in the mail, an email.
You're on the committee.
Well done.
And you got voted in the last council, so I knew about that.
So
Good for you.
there again, I can't stress this more than anything else. You guys have to back me up. I'm serious about this. You guys don't back me up, I can't do anything. Just like the last time.
And again, what I have said to them is what you call affordable is not necessarily
Understand.
affordable for seniors.
Right.
And it's
Understand.
not necessarily when the seniors ask for housing that works for them, what they mean. So, you know, and that's really kind of, I think, the message we all understand here, right? I mean, when a waiting list is 2+ years to get into Juniper,
That's right.
you know, and someone loses their husband or wife and their income is split in half, they don't have 2 years to sit on a waiting list if they want to remain in the community. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, that doesn't work for people who've been long-term residents here in town that want to stay, but their income is low and they can't afford to even keep their house or whatever, which is what's happening for people. They need
That's-
what they call house
that's what I'm
rich and
going in
cash
with.
poor.
That's exactly what I'm going in with.
So,
Okay, now, I'm gonna tell you what I would like. Okay, there was a nice piece of property called the Mitten School, where a brand new senior center and senior housing would fit right on that lot. And if we don't advocate for that now, go up there and tell these people this is what we want and get this ball started, you're not gonna get it. I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna get it. Now, what I did is there was this piece in the paper, okay? It says housing vouchers available. The Mansfield Housing Authority is getting a list of people, well, let me see. Mansfield Housing Authority Choice Voucher Program Waiting List Lottery is accepting preliminary applications for this new thing over here, okay? I sent an email to Pat. Okay, I wanted to see, what I wanted was, I want a copy of that list. Send an email to her, she sent back the note. I sent an email I got an email from the town clerk to get a hold of this guy in the Freedom of Information.
right. That's,
Okay, and he told me, he says, yes, this is a federal project, okay? What you do is you ask them for the list first. Send them a letter, ask them for the list. If they don't give you the list, go to Freedom of Information and get that list. I want to see exactly how many people over 55 applied for this program. Okay, to give us some idea of what's going on. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from.
My impression was that the lead time was fairly short. By the time I saw the article, you know, you had to scramble, the deadline was up fairly soon, wasn't it?
That doesn't, I mean, the deadline for the list, I don't care what the deadline for the list is. What I want you to do is to write a letter to the housing authority over there and tell them that we want a copy of that list. Even if they come up and they say, well, okay, well, we can't give it to you because of this act. All I want is gender and age and town, if possible. That's all. I mean, I don't want no names, addresses, phone numbers, or anything else. I just want, I'm not saying we just want certain criteria so that we'll know how many people at 55 put in for this.
well, what I'm telling you is they're calling it workforce housing.
Right.
So that will give you a clue on
What?
workforce housing.
Workforce.
So what I'm telling you is, think about who would be, who your age, from an age perspective you're talking about when you're talking about workforce housing.
Work, yeah. So in other words, the seniors.
That's gonna be skewed for those under 55.
But if we ask for that,
And the majority of what they're building is not going to be for like a one bed, it's not one bedroom, from what I understand. So, you know, just so you know, I mean, I don't know. I do know that they were, they did push them when we're successful to have more of it be what I would call the lower percentage when they talk about affordable housing, because that wasn't what the original proposal was. So that was a good thing. So, because if you understand that affordable housing doesn't mean low income housing, as we've talked about, that there's like 3 percentages, 3 different levels. And if more of your people are toward the top, that's definitely not low income housing. So, because it's based on the average rent and the average income in a particular area. So what's considered affordable here in Mansfield, because of the cost of rents and the other incomes, is skewed. That's, so anyway, so that part is, but I think it's primarily they're going to be family.
Something to think about, people.
It's very, very, very similar to, I think, the makeup of Pulling.
State.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what you're gonna.
Will you-
Regarding your piece of property, Will, I had a long conversation with Brian Coleman, and I brought up specifically the idea that those 2 parcels of property, the one out at Four
Good one.
Corners and the one up here, were available, and that would be ideal for something. He said flatly, the town would never consider that they would say they could not afford to buy those parcels.
We already own them.
Well, Goodwin and then the town.
Right,
owns
the
them.
town-
we already own it.
School will turn them
It's
over
our
to
property.
them.
All I gotta do is build on it.
So the town's got to decide, and there's a lot of factors into how they decide. Some of it is, tax base, like will you build something that actually is service demand, needs of the town. Like there's going to be a lot of nonprofits, I think, vying for those parcels. As well as some for-profit entities, because of where they're located. I mean, the challenges of neither of them are really easy access to transportation, and they're not right on a transportation line.
Well, I mean, we can always get WRTE to send a bus over here. I'll make sure.
Yeah, they've been so good about expanding that line.
Now, you're talking about building a senior center there and then giving up this site.
Which I think is
That's
going
in
to
the
happen.
house.
I mean, this site is, it's an ideal location, but it's very problematic from a building point of
Yes.
view. So.
I was finally convinced of that by John Carrington.
Yeah, there's so many problems with the location and this building itself,
Yeah.
so.
But I mean,
Land,
water.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for
you know,
coming.
it's just-
Bye-bye.
Take care.
it's like I said at the last meeting, okay? We can't be all talk. We can't all sit here and all talk, okay? We have to do something. I mean, even if we write a letter to the council and let them know where we're coming from, all right? I mean, I think it's just time for us seniors to get up here and demand something. I mean, these people have been pushing us around with tokenism and everything else for freaking years. Okay? I mean, it's time for us to get up and speak. I mean, even if you just get up and say, hey, what are you gonna do for us? Okay, you've been doing everything for everybody else. They want to put beds in a town garage, so these poor guys that on overtime, rubbing snow, they get a place to sleep. And I got a senior who ain't got a place to sleep. That's wrong, that's wrong, people, that's wrong. I'm sorry, I'll get off.
although I will say that those beds at the highway garage are important for large numbers.
That's one reason I keep harping on the percentage of senior taxpayers. If we were gonna put
You're never
together,
gonna get that. The only way you're gonna get that, okay, I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna get that. You're gonna have to get a list of all the people in town, okay, which you can do. And there is a website that you go on, the town of Mansfield, will give you how much money they paid in taxes. That's public knowledge. Okay?
all I'm
And you go
saying,
one by
Will, is
one
that
by
that
one
letter
by
needs to
one.
have some numbers in it. And we don't have the numbers to put in the letter.
You're not
I
gonna
could
get
jump
them.
up and down and scream and
You-
yell at them, but
you
if I
have to
could
get it.
say, if I could say 60% or 40% or whatever, And we are a population that matters, and we're big enough for you to worry about us. That would carry a lot more weight than saying, oh, help me, please. So there.
Do it, do it. Do it. Go
I don't
to
have
the
any
council meeting,
numbers.
do it.
What are the numbers?
Go to the town council and demand the numbers. That's all.
Do they have them? Are they
You-
anywhere?
I'm sure that the tax department can put that whole report to you together, and by the stroke of a keyboard, they'll have the whole list. Everybody over 55, and how much taxes they pay. All they gotta do is type it in. But they're not gonna do it unless they give orders to do it, okay? And you going over and asking for it, they're not gonna do it. But you go to the council meeting and you tell them that's what you want. Just when it's time for the public to speak, just go up there and tell them what you want. And see if they do it. We gotta start. We can't just sit here and talk. Okay?
Well, maybe I will.
Okay? I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Sorry, Nancy.
Hi, Nan.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys.